Guten Abend, ich begrüße Sie bei Honovi Global Network, wo Wahrheit und Rechenschaftlich an oberster Stelle stehen. Es ist nicht klug, Menschen zu tauschen. Die sich tauschen lassen wollen. Okay, so it is not wise to fool people who are willing to be fooled. And you will understand exactly what I'm saying. Now, a few months ago, okay, without having the actual nitty-gritty knowledge of the legal framework of what took place in the arrangement with the sale of the Polaris land, I made certain predictions. Okay? Through the use of intellect, reasoning, logic, and critical thinking, I was able to figure out certain things without actually knowing the intimacy of the legal framework and the legal arrangements. But what do you know? Everything that I said was spot on. Okay? So I did say that this is a big, big gimmick. Okay? And that all this groundbreaking and rush to have groundbreaking, okay, was part of a grand scheme to create excitement about this Polaris project. And in some respects, especially, it was for a diaspora market to dupe them. Okay? Because in some respects, these people seem to be the most gullible ones, even though they might have lived or live in a big city. You would think that they will know a hustle when they see one. But these are the ones that are most easily caught by this current administration. So I said to you guys that the reason they had created this distinct company was to be able to manage this whole thing and was to be able to sell shares to the upper echelons and their associates, and then resell after they have created speculative value, okay, with all the shenanigans, and everybody's all excited about this now, to resell these shares that they would have purchased at a reduced rate at a much more exorbitant rate to people who would be gullible and overly excited about this grand Polaris scheme. I told you sooner or later they would be coming to you to say, well, we need help with the funding on Polaris, and you need to invest. You need to buy treasury bonds, okay? And you need to buy shares in this company. So that way they could tout it as some sort of way of raising funds for Polaris. But first they needed to sweeten the diaspora. They needed to seduce the diaspora. And that is why they went to Brooklyn Town Hall, and we know how that ended. And then they went to Toronto, okay? All to sweeten up and excite the diaspora. And that is why they also have this diaspora homecoming. That is the ruse. It's a carefully crafted ruse to sweeten the diaspora, bamboozle them, and then when they're intoxicated, then they're going to hit them soon enough with, hey, you need to buy shares in this Asset Bank Limited. But what do you know? Mr. Cajeton Hood on today's show with Jenny exposed and confirmed everything that I said and suspected before. His digging into the legal paperwork just confirms everything that I said and suspected. Now I want you to take a look at what I said a couple of months ago. And then after that, I am going to play the expose of what Mr. Cajeton Hood said. So bear with me. Look at the entire video and wait till the end. If you want to see the entire video that I made months ago, you can look in the description. I'll put the link in there. Okay, all the ceremony was not for you. It was for them. It was a ritual of celebration. It's like, yeah, we did it. We dupe the Grenadian people, and boy, oh boy, we're going to milk this for everything it's worth. So let me explain, okay? So this Grenada Asset Bank Company Limited, now that they have control over this and they can carefully manage this asset, guess what they're going to do? And this is a Ponzi scheme. They're going to sell shares in that company, okay, to themselves and their friends, okay? So it's going to, and then they're going to pull off what I call a typical pump and dump scheme. A pump and dump scheme. You see, that's why they had to create all this big excitement about Polaris. And that is why they were rushing to create this sword turning. Because time is running out. Time is of essence here. So if they create all this excitement and people get enthusiastic about it, what happens? The quote unquote speculative value of this company rises. So they can sell shares to themselves and their friends in this company at relatively cheap prices per share. Okay, they're going to sell it to their friends. Let me just do a little number for you. So for example, if a whale, okay, or a guy with some money, their friends, buy shares into this company, buy 1 million shares, okay, at $1 a piece. Okay, that's $1 million. Now, what are you going to do subsequently? Because of all the excitement and enthusiasm, and I know Grenadian people want to teach a research hospital, okay, that whale now would start selling shares anywhere from $2 to $5. Because I'm telling you, look how this coming. They're going to tell you, oh, they need some sort of help in funding the hospital. Okay? So after that whale bought it at $1 per share, they can sell it. And I'm just doing some numbers. Anywhere from $2 to $5 per share. Okay? So even if they got it at $4 per share or $3 per share, right there and then, that person who bought it at $1 per share would have already made $2 million when they resell it at $3 per share. Just brilliant. They're coming to you. Look how, you're going to tell me I said it. They're coming to you, Grenadian people. They say, we need to raise some funds. And now they've excited you, they've bamboozled you, and you're all excited about it. That's what they're going to hit you with next. So all their friends who buy up these shares in this company initially for cheap are going to resell it, okay, on the retail market for $2 to $5 or even more. They could say, that's 10. They could buy for $2 or $3 and that's $10. Okay? And then that way, you know, they'll be making a killing. So that's it. You guys don't understand, right? They're coming. They're coming to hit you up just now. And all you excitable people in the diaspora. You guys go, yeah, wow. Let's get some of the shares in the teacher research hospital. Boy, so they know their audience. These guys are not foolish. These smart man lawyer.
A company number at the top of the document, but in any event, when you look at the certificate of incorporation, you'd notice that the company number is 2023/C202, and that's what you see at the top of the certificate there. So the company number is there. The class and maximum number of shares is 10,000 ordinary shares. Strange enough, the shareholder can sell its share by making an offer to any intended purchaser. So in other words, this company, having parked as its asset land worth $36 million, which will come to just now, is saying that the shareholder can sell assets that were purchased by the people's money to any intended purchaser once cabinet approves. And to me, that is shocking. Look at how flippantly our government is dealing with the people's property.
Well, I'm surprised that you are shocked, Mr. Cajeton Hood. But I believe and I hope that you're just using this as a figure of speech and that you're not actually shocked. Because from the inception, okay, I have said that I believe these charlatans, socialist Marxists, and imposters are in some respects using the machinations of government for self-enrichment. So I am not surprised, okay, that these people will engage in such actions. I am not surprised. Again, there's a serious perception that the machinations of government are being used for self-enrichment. And I believe there's a lot of credibility and merit to that. So there you have it. The shares can be sold to anyone once approved by cabinet. And I believe, based on how this is run in a sort of tyrannical way, there will be no problems in getting approval to sell shares to whoever the leader of the administration deems fit or necessary. Okay? So there it is. Confirms exactly what I said. So they haven't managed to be able to sell shares. And if you look at the entire Jenny show, you'll see Mr. Cajeton Hood talking about the legality. That because shares weren't sold yet, or probably unknowingly, in this company, there's a question of legality of the company. Okay? But based, if you were to value, I assume the value of the company is as the value of the land sold, let's say 36 million, and then they have a portion 10,000 shares. So it means that each share would be worth $3,600. Okay? So as I've told you, the first dibs, okay, the people who are going to get the first dibs at a whack at the shares are going to be the upper echelons and the associates. And then as speculative value of that company rises, they can sell this $3,600 per share. They probably can sell it for $10,000 per share. And there will be gullible suckers willing to buy it. Because remember, you will see that Mr. Cajeton Hood is saying that this Asset Bank Company Limited is going to be some sort of vehicle so they can raise their money. When I told you that this was an economy of sorts created for the upper echelons and the associates of the NDC administration, now you understand what I'm saying. Because all the legal work and all the stuff surrounding this stuff, okay, the paperwork will be handed to. So they're creating work and jobs for themselves. And however far it gets, it doesn't matter to them. That's why I said again, it's a Ponzi scheme of sorts. Because who gets in first makes the money. And wherever it's at, the debt will be held by the Grenadian taxpayer. But again, as I have just said in the inception of this show, you have to understand that it is no brilliance, it is no masterful strategy to fool people who themselves are willing and ready and able to be fooled. Okay? And it is quite obvious, and I understand the diaspora, they're intoxicated. You know, they want to feel that they're part of something. Okay? These are people who like to get together to show off on one another. Okay? To dress up nice and show off as, yeah, I've arrived, you know, and talk all the talk. But you guys have to understand, Deacon Mitchell and his administration is not interested in your ideas. That in itself is another gimmick. They don't want to hear nothing from you. They will just pretend they want to hear from you. Because that is playing along. That is part of the game. You know, these people will never listen to you guys. Okay? They don't value what you see. Because there's so much technically savvy people in the diaspora, and you guys are hypocrites. Okay? Because you should understand. As a matter of fact, none of you said anything about the groundbreaking. So what does that tell me? What does that tell me? And you guys should be big technical guys wherever you are in the diaspora. But you didn't see through that. So how technical you guys are. But yeah, you want to come to these functions and show off on one another and dress up and talk. Deacon and his administration is not interested in your ideas. arrogance won't allow them to listen to you. Look how much I had to push hard and tell the Grenadian people the solution for closure before they listen. And so many other things. So you think they're going to appreciate your ideas? No, because remember, they're young and they're bright. Why would they listen to you? So you all think that you're part of something. It's such a seduction. Yeah, oh wow, we're giving our ideas. Oh, this, yeah. They'll just accommodate your speech. But there's only two things that Deacon and his administration wants from you. Only two things. And that is your vote and your money. So go ahead. Fool yourself into believing that you're part of something and they want anything else. They want your lofty ideas. You guys are fooling yourself. It's just shameful. Okay? It's sad and it's shameful. And here's an opportunity for me to talk about all of them and all you used to play all these big revolutionary. Okay? And all you was big bajans for Grenadian. Okay? And beat up and take advantage of Grenadians. And now, look at what and who you all support. You all have been taken, deceived, and bamboozled. Okay? By ice cream pans and sweet talk. Look at the people you all support. So what does that tell me? That from the inception, you guys were a bunch of wimps. Okay? That's what it tells me. You all advantage and beat up Grenadian people, and look what you all fall for now. And you all pretend you all were some big warriors and revolutionaries. And all you're so strategic. And all you're so bright. And look what all you fall for. Look what all you fall for. What does that tell me? That tells me all I need to know about you guys. That is why I keep telling you guys that you can't tell me nothing. Okay? Only the real ones can talk to me. But none of you, the majority of you, can tell me nothing. So, now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's take a look additionally at what Mr. Cajeton Hood had to say.
That is shocking. Now, the business of the company, and notice that now, business of the company shall be restricted to raising capital for the government of Grenada through the issuance of debt securities for the acquisition of critical assets to support the government transformation agenda. That's what the Prime Minister said. The question is this: is that banking business?
And the reason he said that this is really not banking business, I suggest you look at the entire Jenny show. I think it's an interesting show this evening. It always generally is. But you should look at it, because the reason he brought up the term banking, apparently there's some legal issue where that for you to call or name a company with the use of the words bank or banker or banking, that you have to actually legally be engaged in banking. So it would have been illegal to name the company Asset Bank Limited. So again, I'll leave you to look at the show to delve into that aspect of things. But you see, part of the gimmick again, this is your vehicle for the transformation agenda. So that is how they're going to dupe people into buying shares in this company. So they can love other things in this company. And say, here's another idea that we have and you should buy shares. So you see what I'm talking about? The setup? That is the setup. So the speculative value of this company will rise based on all this setup. It's like crafty. I believe this could only be crafted by charlatans. But again, I mean, they have easy suckers. Okay? They have easy suckers. People are not even thinking. And the worst of the worst is in the diaspora. Okay? I mean, well, you know what it is too sometimes? These people who come to the diaspora, they remain insulated in their own like a community. They don't venture out. Okay? They have that work in corporate. As if they went to Manhattan. You know what I'm saying? So they don't venture out too much. So the exposure to certain things is limited. Because all they do is stick in a little insulated community and they badmouth one another and mock one another business and all that nonsense. Instead of trying to elevate their mentor and experience things, okay, that you can experience in a big city that will give you some sort of experience for a lifetime. But no, when they see each other, they want to go to a little show and dress up in clothes and show off on one another and talk, well, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. Yeah, we know the game, please. So they're easily taken. But you know what is sad also? And probably it's a time to get into that. And when I tell you that, Deacon and his administration are not going to listen to you because they were hesitant in listening to me on Cloget at first. Until everything I said panned out exactly as it did. And as I did say. You understand? So they had no choice because they'd lose a whole mountain in Cloget. So they had no choice to listen. When things started getting desperate and the settlement moved from 6 inches to a whole 5 feet. Like, nah, well, we got to listen to that guy. We got to implement what he said. Temporary shoring. That's the only time you get them to listen when their back is against the wall. When danger's approaching. When the house is on fire. You know? That's the only time they listen. They're not going to listen to you. Yeah, so they think they know. They think they're young and they're bright. Young and they're bright and they lose every goddamn civil case brought against them. And they proclaim it in public streets. I'm a lawyer. We're lawyers. What is paper pushing? Okay? Corporate law. What does that do? What does that influence? What does that make you so brilliant? Okay? Most of these little corporate deals, listen, I know how these things work, okay? You have your little template, you fill in the blanks, you change the name of the companies, and then you have a template, you have people sign, and you get, what, thousands of dollars to do what? Huh? Come on, man, we know the game. Where do you think you're talking to? Kids? This doesn't require any technical ability. You don't have to think much when you're doing these things. No, if you're in a criminal proceeding or something, it requires a little more logic and reasoning and crafting strategic responses that I can understand. You see what I'm saying? So no one is fooling anybody here, okay? Let's keep it 100. Let's keep it real. And based on what Mr. Cajeton Hood is saying now, it seems like you guys might be struggling, even in the discipline that you should know a lot about. Y'all look like y'all entirely dropped the ball, okay? Screwed up the paperwork on the incorporation and screwed up the paperwork on the conveyances. And that should be something that you guys should be proficient at, okay? But I'm a lawyer. I'm a lawyer. As I tell you, the more and more I think about this, there used to be a bunch of smart men. Okay, who used to think? There's a bunch of them, And that is why I always tell you there's parallels. From 79 to 83 to now. Do these guys know? Well, again, as I said, I've been over this a million and one times. I'm not surprised because I don't know, probably that's your all advisors. But there used to be a bunch of smart men from 79 to 83 that had the same kind of MO, Same kind of MO. They feel like they were brighter and smarter than everybody else. They thought they were brighter and smarter than every Grenadian. Yeah. So, it's a bit of history repeating itself. I'm a lawyer. You guys are big time lawyers, or you're losing every case. All you're doing is only paying out money. Paying out the Grenadian taxpayer money on frivolous cases. You're talking about, I'm a lawyer. Okay? And again, there's probably other civil cases pending. So all you're here to just waste the Grenadian taxpayer money. And it ain't even funny. But I guess the average guy would be impressed. Like, yeah, that's my idol. Don't say anything about him now. Oh boy. It's 4th of July, weekend. So it's a good time to, it's a good time to eat, to lay off. It's a good time to breeze on and, and have a little fun. But yeah, let's get into, and that is what is kind of sad. Because the only reason they really listened eventually, I had to become drastic and act a little draconian and confront them in the public. Okay? Where they had no choice but to listen. Okay? And explain themselves. That is the only how, again, you'll have to deal with individuals like that. You have to confront them. You have to put them on the spot. Which is sad that it has to reach that. But obviously, I would say that the current opposition have not learned how to deal with the current administration. Okay? Because if they did, they would understand. Imagine a guy like myself, put myself on the line, almost was mobbed by a mob. Okay? I had to be ready for Mortal Kombat when I went in there. And boy, oh boy, I'm always prepared for Mortal Kombat. But I'm saying, I have to put myself on the line. Getting the Prime Minister to commit about, and him proclaiming in the public space, and touting his administration as one of the most transparent. He says, we're going to give you the documents. We're going to release the documents on the money spent, the 22 million spent. After getting him to commit to that, okay? Guess what? You would have thought that the current opposition would have seized or acted on that opportunity. Would have since then be calling every week, okay, for the release of the document. But instead, what does the current administration spend weeks and weeks talking about? Horse shit. Okay? And while I do understand, and I was sympathetic to the horseman, and I said a lot of things in the public space in dealing with that situation, the opposition spent umpteen times and weeks upon weeks, and in some respects exposed the young man, okay, to possible legal action. Having the young man speak so much in the public space. Eventually, when I said in the public space that, look, this young man, if there's looming legal action against him, should not be saying anything in the public space. And all of a sudden, magically, somebody said something to him. He took my advice. No, the gentleman didn't say anything again after that in the public space. But had the gentleman parading all over the place, talking and saying things he probably should not have been saying, especially if some sort of legal action was looming against him. So the opposition spent umpteen times, okay, on horse shit, okay, instead of focusing on something that's legitimate, something that's serious, something that concerns the Grenadian taxpayer, like the 22 million that was spent to get a 15% concept plan, a concept plan that only costed $1 million at most. But $22 million was spent. And you did not subsequently decide, let me confront in the public space or through the media, okay, or through formal requests that the documentation be provided to the opposition. That the documentation be made public. No one said anything about that. But you know what I believe? I was thinking about it. I said, don't get too emotional about this. Or don't let your emotions supersede your intellect. Think about this carefully, Perry. And when I thought about it, I said, you know what, it is possible? And I see Deacon and his administration kind of pull that stunt already. I think they tried to pull it on Peter. I think it was somewhere in the last budget when Peter sort of challenged a budget. Okay? And a way of counterattacking, because he asked some serious questions himself on the last budget. And then the leader of the administration go and say, well, probably we will get him to explain how he spends that 10,000 constituency allowance. So I think that's kind of scared them off. So I believe, after carefully analyzing the situation, I believe that the opposition is in no hurry, okay, to try to find out where that 22 million was spent. Did in any way the opposition had anyone that benefited from that 22 million? I think that is less credible. But I think what is more credible is that the opposition is probably afraid, okay, that the current administration is going to say, you want us to explain 22 million? Well, explain to the Grenadian people what you spend that 10,000 constituency allowance on. Isn't that what you guys are afraid of? That is why you're not confronting the current administration and holding them accountable to explain to the Grenadian people what that $22 million was spent on. Again, I can tell you that the cost of a 15% concept plan is no more than $1 million. It could be as little as $500,000. But yet still $22 million was spent to secure a 15% concept plan, which you cannot do anything with except parade and show off and have a shenanigan of a groundbreaking. So the perception may be of the opposition is that you're playing softball. And why are you playing softball? In such a critical, grave, possibly one of the most important elections in the history of Grenada. Especially that Grenada is in the clutches of socialist Marxists, charlatans and imposters. And you shouldn't be playing softball. So when everybody is ready to play hardball, and when everybody realizes or perceives this situation to be what it really is, which is an extremely critical and grave situation for the people of Grenada, okay? And I've said before that my efforts would be commensurate with everyone else's effort, okay? Because I can give 100 when you guys are giving 20 and 40 and 50. And in some respects, I believe that is why, these young and bright and the leader of this administration and his crew believes that he can run rings around you guys. And they don't take you guys seriously. Because you really don't seriously hold them accountable. Okay? So when everybody's really ready to go hard, I'm seeing people who are, I wouldn't say sideliners, but people who probably understand what's going on. I'm seeing some cats out there, people are really fighting for this. Really, really fighting for this. And I'm wondering, the people who are actually at the parliamentary level, people are actually there and should have some sort of pull, should have some sort of influence, should have some sort of teat. They're playing softball. I don't know, I'm confused. In diesem Sinne, guten Abend.